All right. So, based on the comments that we received in a few previous videos about the price of the bus, I figured this would be a great time to address the price of the bus. However, we want to address a few things first. And so for those of you who are, sincerely interested in the price of the bus, I'm sure you'll stick around to see that. For anybody that's here just to leave nasty comments or whatever, have at it. We'll delete those later. So we've been about two minds here about sharing the price of the bus, and that's kind of been all along. On one hand, it's nobody else's business, and on the other hand, if this weren't our own bus, we'd be super curious about the price too. So we totally understand that curiosity. So before I go very much further and start getting into the price of the bus and things like that, go ahead and drop in the comments and tell us what you think. Give us your best guess on the price of the bus. I can almost guarantee most of you are going to be way off. The price of the bus and everything involved with this is much more affordable than a lot of you seem to have thought. So there's your kind of hint a little bit on the price of the bus. So first, I want to talk a little bit about why we haven't shared the price or revealed the price of the bus before now. Like I said, to be honest, like our personal finances have been something that we've always really kind of held close to our chest. I don't talk about my income very much or how much money I make, and asking somebody about how much money they make or what they've spent on their home or their cars, things like that. All my life, that's kind of been like a taboo subject. Now I know with like social media being a big thing, and with us participating in social media, a lot of those things seem to go by the wayside, and some of that more traditional aspect of life has gone away. And for us, we've just always kind of held that close to us, and so it's been taboo. It's really anybody else's business what we choose to do with our money. I don't judge anybody for spending the money they do on shoes or new phones or whatever you spend your money on. That's your business. It's your money, and how you spend that is your business. So for the most part, that has been our attitude towards anyone that randomly asks us what we spend on or what we spent on the bus. It's none of your business. That said, we've kind of had that second thought as well, and we know that it's something that everybody's interested in, and we would be too. So the second thing to know, though, is that, and something we haven't really told or talked to very many people about either, is that we are in the midst of a fairly large lawsuit regarding the bus and the builder of the bus that we had hired to do most of the construction on the inside of the bus. So our costs on the bus and the build are ongoing because of that lawsuit and the many issues that have come up or had to be fixed and repaired due to the issues with that original builder. And so we, while we've kind of tried to keep track of the costs involved there, and obviously for the lawsuit, we've kept track of all the costs that are going into that, it's made us really kind of hesitant to share any of those costs with everybody. And also it kind of feels like it's not really a genuine cost because it's not really what everybody else would expect to go through or to spend on something like this. And so it hasn't been something we've been willing to share. So the cost of the bus is not final. What I'm going to share with you is kind of the cost to this point and where we're at that. And so we've just felt like it would be a little misleading to tell anybody a price when, frankly, we don't have a total yet. But we understand the curiosity, and what we do have a total of is what we believe would be an actual representation of the build out of this, were it done properly and were we not in the midst of a lawsuit at this point. So the third thing is that while we haven't shared publicly the cost of the bus, we have shared our cost to this point with most people who ask sincerely. Those that have sent us a direct message and explained to us that this is a lifestyle they're considering and looking at, and they have those questions about the cost. We've absolutely shared the cost of the bus. We don't typically share it with anybody that just flippantly asks, just drops it out there, like, oh, what it costs, what'd you spend on it, those kind of things, just because we don't feel like those are really genuine or sincere questions. And so we have shared it privately with people, people who have asked those real questions. However, being that we have this growing following, we can no longer always respond to every one of those messages as much as we'd like to. It just isn't possible, and it's becoming impossible to respond to those questions as quickly as we'd like. And so with that being pretty difficult, that's really why ultimately we've chosen to take the opportunity now and share that with you guys publicly in one video that will really just answer that question. And so as much as we want to be able to have this discussion one-on-one with anyone that sincerely asks, we simply don't have enough time in the day to do that. And so with the power of social media and that it lets us connect with so many people with just a single video, we're gonna reveal that here, how much we have spent on the bus. Okay, so our goal with sharing our bus and our travels is to inspire others to live intentionally and perhaps live the way we're choosing to live for this period of our lives. Not that living any other way isn't living intentionally. You could live intentionally in a million different ways. For us, this is what we're choosing to do. So we recognize that with that goal, there comes a little bit of responsibility to share what we can and be transparent about our lives, and that includes the cost of the bus. So that's what brings us to making this video. We're grateful for everyone that follows our adventures, supporting us, and we feel like we do, to some degree, owe it to those who have been inspired by our adventures to share what this life has cost us. It has come at a significant cost, but not all that cost is associated directly with the bus. And so there's been like this opportunity cost. I left a six-figure job to work on the bus myself for a few months after we had sold our home. And after we moved out of our rental, we ended up living in vacation rentals, and while we waited for the bus to be completed, all that stuff just wasn't cheap and wasn't part of our initial budget, and kind of made up additional costs that we otherwise maybe wouldn't have had. So before we dive any further into that, I just want to ask that you subscribe, like the video, subscribe to our channels. We have Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, all of that kind of stuff. Feel free to jump onto any of those and leave us some comments, and subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. I don't have any other videos or links for you to click on. Just we're still fairly new at this, and we're trying to do the best we can. We want to make sure that any content that we give you is content that you're looking for. So feel free to drop in the comments what you would like to see about our bus or our family, our adventures, anything like that. Okay, so let's dive into first our budget with this bus. So when we started this build, we had no consumer debt. We owned a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-garage, 1,800 square foot home with about $125,000 of equity in it. That home had been a rental income for us previously. So we lived at home for a little over 5 years. Then we moved out into a home we were renting, and we rented out the home we owned. That gave us a little bit of income, and the home that we were renting was about 2,500 square feet. So we sold the first home and used that equity as part of this journey. With all that said, I'm going to walk you through a full breakdown of the cost of the bus purchase and the initial build. That's the price that we're going to reveal to you, because that's, I think, the most genuine and authentic price. That's really what most people are asking about when you ask us the price of the bus. I feel like that's what you're looking for. So that's what we're going to discuss. Now, I might also discuss some of the repair costs and other associated costs, but really what I'm thinking that most people are asking, and genuinely when people direct message us and ask about it, the cost that people are actually looking for is that hard cost, what the bus costs, the initial build, things like that. So we're going to discuss like our budget for the build and some of the ongoing costs, but that's where we're going to start. Okay. Oh, and one more thing. A ton of people have made guesses about what it may have cost. And I'm hoping that you're dropping in the comments right now and making your guess. But I've got to say, most of the guesses are way, off. I'm talking like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars off the charts. And while we haven't like done that like full on total all in costs with opportunity costs and leaving the job and all that, we haven't added that all as part of the cost. I do know that adding everything up regardless, we haven't crossed 7 figures. There's no way. So if your guess was 7 figures or more, you're far off. We wouldn't consider ourselves really like financially rich. I know some people like to post in the comments like that this is an incredible waste, or it's an insulting waste, or we're like filthy rich in some manner. Not even close. All right. I had a low 6-figure job. Before doing this, I worked in technology a little bit with that job, and yeah, we've never had like major money. We basically just swapped our regular expenses in life, living in that house that we owned. We swapped that for this. Really, nothing really changed. There was no change financially in that matter. So we haven't won the lottery or anything like that. We're not super well off financially any more than we were just living in our other house. And certainly if you drove by that house, maybe I'll throw a picture of that up here. If you drove by that house, you wouldn't look at it and go, oh, those guys are, super wealthy, anything like that. Middle class family. And we did have a little bit of a savings. We've been smart with our money our entire lives. I'm in my mid-30s, and I've had a decent job all the time, steadily growing in that ladder. I'm sure there's people watching this video who have worked with me in the past and know that we're not just super well off. We don't have any kind of inheritance. That was never in the cards for either my wife or I. All our parents, both my wife's parents and both my parents are still alive, and we'll just say that they've never been like really well off either. So we did save a little bit for the bus, but nothing huge, nothing that anybody else really wouldn't be able to do. It did take a lot of hard work, and we did have to budget. We did have to, cut things back in our budget and cut some spending out. When we decided we wanted to do this, we did have to make some adjustments and changes to our budget so that we could save the money in order to do it. It didn't come without those types of things, those types of costs as well. Okay, so let's start with the budget then. So when we knew we wanted to make this life change, we first researched what it was going to cost to purchase like a typical motorhome that would fit our family. We saw $1 million coaches, and when I say saw, we did all our research online. All right, so we saw those $1 million coaches. We knew that those were going to be out of our price range, but we figured like a decent fifth wheel trailer would work, but that could make traveling a little bit more difficult because we all wanted to travel together as a family of 8, and we knew like finding a vehicle that could tow and then seat all 8 of us inside, that was going to be a little more difficult. And so we kind of knew we wanted to go with a Class A motorhome. Then we stumbled upon like some school bus conversions, and we learned that we could convert a school bus for much less than the cost to buy a typical Class A. And it would allow us to like personalize our space and kind of have more control of the layout a little bit better for our family. So that led us to bus conversions. And ultimately, that's when we found this bus listed for sale. It was a hotel on wheels. And so there was bunks up here, if I can point my finger right. So here, front to back, bottom, it was just all bunks, right? So we found this. It had 8 seats and 4 bunks downstairs, and then the top was just all bunks. And so from our research, we kind of determined that we should be able to get the bus and do our entire build for about $150,000. That was our budget. It was going to be a little bit of a push for us. It was more than we had in savings, so I was going to keep working and stuff for a little while, but so it was going to be a push for us. But we figured it'd be worth it for the lifestyle change and everything. The bus itself, first number that everybody asks about, how much the bus itself costs when we purchased it, $59,500. So there's your first number. So we purchased the bus for just about $60,000 after taxes and stuff. I'm sure it was right around that. So about $60,000 is the first number for you. Double deckers aren't really common in the US. However, they do come up from time to time, and when available, you can find them listed. Well, the dealership, ABC Companies, is the dealership for Van Hool buses. So you can find them at ABC, sometimes even used. You can find them on eBay sometimes. I just looked just yesterday. There was one listed on eBay yesterday. We found ours on Bus for Sale. I've seen them on like WeSellLimos.com. I've seen them on just a few other sites, right? So they are out there, but they're not really common. When we bought ours, I want to say there was roughly like 10 of them on the market that I knew of, of the same kind of make and model. Today, and now that was at the beginning of the pandemic, right? So like a lot of bus companies were liquidating their fleet because of the pandemic, right? Today there seems to be a lot less on the market, with the pandemic stuff here in the US kind of winding down. You can travel on these now again. So fleets are not in such a rush to get rid of them. So there's a lot less on the market today, and because they're not being liquidated as much, they are typically going to be finding them for about twice what we spent on ours. That's what I've been finding right now. Now you can get a decent price on them. You can get them as low as $50,000 or $60,000. I saw one it was maybe about 6 months ago. I saw one that sold at auction for $10,000. I don't know what was wrong with it, but I saw one go for about 10 grand. And I've seen them, if you get the new shell, if you just buy a brand new one, they're going to be over $1 million. But used with roughly 750 to 1.2 million miles, you should be able to find them in the $60,000 to $120,000, $150,000 range just for the bus itself. But you could also spend way more than that, and if you get really lucky, you might spend less than that. Okay, so we spent $60,000 on the bus, and then we have the cost to build it and convert the bus. So we interviewed over 10 builders, and we chose a builder that we felt confident in at the time based on the work that they had showed us, things that they had indicated they had previously done. We received quotes from 20 grand up to $300,000 or more for the build, and ended up choosing a builder who had quoted us about $79,000. So that was their initial quote to us. Now, after work had begun, we dropped the bus off to them. That estimate quickly changed to roughly $94,000, $95,000 for the build out. And when we picked up the bus incomplete and incorrectly built, we had an invoice of $120,000. So that put our total build cost plus the price of the bus at $180,000, or roughly $30,000 over our initial budget. So keep in mind that the bus at this point was now back in our possession, but very little about the bus was built correctly, and the builder managed to cause more damage to the bus than what we had spent on to that point in the build. And so when we did get to pick up the bus from the builder, we had spent over 6 months in a week-to-week rental situation. I had left my job so we could begin our journey traveling, and we ended up taking the bus from the Utah builder and went back to Texas, which is home base for us, and arranged another short-term rental location so we could inspect and hopefully repair some of the issues that we had immediately found with the build, and also try to finish what had not been finished. So first stop we made was at ABC Companies. Like I said, they're the dealership for these buses. So first stop we made when we got back to Texas was ABC Companies. They're the dealership, and they're pretty close to where our home base is in Texas. They're about 8 miles away from us. So we figured we'd be able to get over there, and they'd be able to tell us what critical functions had issues, and if any of those had been damaged. Turns out, of course, they had been damaged, and their estimate for the repairs on those damages was well over 6 figures. So to date, we've replaced the tires, which were left sitting in the sun by the builder for over a year, which destroys tires. That was about $10,000 for the tires. $11,000 for the tires. I forget. I did a video about the cost of the tires previously on Instagram and TikTok. So I think it was $10,000 or $11,000 for all 8 tires to be replaced. We also recently had an electrical fire a couple weeks ago, and the cost to properly fix all of that incredibly bad wiring in the bus reached over $12,000 without having to rip out all of the walls and just replace all the wiring. We replaced what we could, and so that job was about $12,000, getting to the electrical that we could see and get to, like I said, without ripping the entire bus apart and starting over. So those were just like 2 of the additional costs that we've incurred. The plumbing was also done incorrectly, and we will eventually need to have that corrected. We haven't completely ripped that out and redone it because it works and functions right now. It's just done wrong. The spout to drain the black tank, the plumbing is on the wrong side of the bus. It's things like that. It's totally wrong, and should have been built the other way. The water heater has never really worked. We were originally invoiced for an electric tankless water heater, and what we got was a 20-gallon residential water heater, and there's numerous things still wrong with it and just the bus. The AC has never worked. We actually had a company out just in the last week to take a look at the AC, and there's a leak somewhere in the AC system, but that leak is in the walls up here. Yeah, up here somewhere. There's a leak, and we can't get to it without ripping the walls out. And so we've chosen not to do that just yet, but we've got quotes on fixing that, or we're getting quotes to fix that and get it totally redone. But that's going to be a big cost. So if you're looking at doing a bus like this, those are just like some of those costs that you may encounter. I would hope that nobody would have to deal with all of the mess of issues that we've had to deal with, and that, for roughly that $60,000 initial purchase and the $120,000, so I would expect you'd be able to get out of there with roughly $180,000 for the build, and then consider new tires and a couple other things. You'd be looking right around $200,000. So if you're looking to do a bus like this, some of the costs you'll need to deal with, regardless of the builder, are going to be things like eventually replacing the tires, installing an AC, maybe separate from your initial builder. Perhaps you want to do solar and battery power if you choose to. Those will be additional or could be separate costs. So we have like 8 lithium batteries that each cost roughly $900. We have an inverter that was roughly $2,000, and we want to get that upgraded. There's a much nicer inverter that we would like to have in there that's roughly $4,500. As mentioned, the 8 tires, about $11,000. The AC system, just during the build, the cost of the AC system is $2,000. We have a dual head 18,000 BTU Senville unit. So that's that mini split unit is about $2,000. Fridge and freezer, you're going to have that regardless of the vehicle you choose to travel in. Well, maybe not. I know plenty of people that get away with not having a full-size fridge and freezer. Our fridge and freezer in this one, they are commercial grade. They're commercial under cabinet fridge and freezer, and those were $1,900 each, Avantco fridge and freezer. So what is our total all-in cost for the bus? We're still kind of figuring that out, and we don't have like that full answer, because what do we include in that? Like, do we include the opportunity cost? Do we include what we've ended up spending on all of our vacation rental homes because we've been stuck in these situations with the lawsuit? We don't include all that. But what I can give you is the hard numbers that we do know. $60,000 for the bus, $120,000 for the build, $11,000 for tires, $12,000 for an electrical repair, about $1,000 for inspection, $3,500 for title and registration for 2 years in Vermont. And those things, just those few things, put the cost of the bus at just over $200,000. Now, because we did have savings, and because we did sell our house and pull that equity out of our house, we paid for all of this in cash. And so the build that so far that we've paid in cash is roughly $200,000. Now we also modified our Ford Transit van over here, and just because I know some people ask about costs of things now, that was a $30,000 van, and at the time we bought it, it's a 2018, and we have 99,000 miles on it right now. We'll have 100,000 by the end of the month, but that van was $30,000 when we purchased it, and I think now we could sell it for roughly $45,000 because the market's ridiculous right now. So 2018 Ford Transit T150. It's got 8 seats in there, and we modified that with a quick disconnect drive shaft that was about $2,000 for the part and about $1,500 in labor, if I recall correctly. I'm not pulling those numbers exact, and I didn't look up my receipts for that, but I'm going to say it was about $2,000 for the part, about $1,500 for the labor. We also installed the front tow hitch and the wiring kit connection, so about $800 there with $2,000 of labor, and then we use an $800 tow bar as well to tow. So there's just some additional costs. Because I know everybody, because if you've made it this far in the video, I'm assuming it's because you are actually interested in this lifestyle or pursuing maybe this lifestyle yourself. And I'm really bad at being like the RV tips guy because we're brand new at this. Before this bus, I had never stepped foot in an RV. So I'm not going to be able to give you RV tips, tricks, anything like that. All I can really give you is what our experience as newbies is, total rookies in the RV world. But a couple of costs that we do know that people want to know about. So for those of you that have made it this far, I know you're interested in. So we have ongoing costs like insurance, and that's roughly $3,200 a year. The fuel in this bus is about $1,000 a month. Obviously, fuel prices change, and that also depends on how frequently we are moving the bus. What we like to do like this hub and spoke kind of method where we go somewhere, we park the bus, and then we go out to our activities. So we'll be parked for a week at a time, and we just kind of go out exploring, and then we'll move the bus and do it again. So we're trying to kind of spend about 2 weeks in every state. So in some states we move quickly, in some states we move slow. And so the price of fuel can fluctuate, but we've budgeted about $1,000 a month for fuel, and that is total fuel in the bus and the van. So when we take our little day trips out in the van, that counts in our fuel budget as well. I think I filled up the bus yesterday. I put in like 80 gallons or something. It was right at $5 a gallon, so you can do the math there. RV parks, we don't have any memberships to RV parks like Thousand Trails or anything like that. We probably will get some of those in the future. For now, we don't have them, and so we spend roughly $800 a month on RV parks. With our solar fixed, because we had that recent fire and had the electrical come out and get everything fixed there. We can boondock, we can stay off grid for a few more days at a time now, which allows us the opportunity to skip RV parks if we need, or if we're traveling, if we're trying to just get across the country quickly, we can do so. But our budget is kind of around $800 a month for RV parks. All right, so there you have it. Really, the cost of the bus, the build and the bus, $200,000. Probably a lot less than most of you were thinking. I know it's a lot less than many of the comments that we got. I know that it's probably shocking to a lot of you. I'm sure that some of you feel like that's a huge number, and some of you feel like that's really reasonable. And I guess it really all kind of depends on your current situation and where you're at in life, and how you want to live and travel to determine if that's a cost that you'd be able to swing. Now that you know and can determine for yourself if these costs are something you could do, let us know in the comments. Just drop it below. For us, it's everything. At this point, we've dumped our entire lives and our entire savings into the bus, the equity from the sale of our home, and then some. And we are, we're about 2 months into like full-time living in the bus now. And it has definitely come with its challenges and struggles, but we're loving it right now, and we're committed to doing this for at least this time in our lives. Like I've said before, like our plan is 2 years in the bus, but we do reevaluate that pretty frequently, and we've kind of set a goal to reevaluate that with the kids every 3 to 4 months as we go. just to make sure that the kids are getting out of this what we want them to be getting out of it, and that we're getting out of it a fulfillment in life that we feel like we can do with this. For now, it's 2 years. We have plenty of friends that started out with a 1 or 2 year plan doing the full-time stuff, and now they're in their 3rd, 4th, 5th year doing it and never kind of have a plan to go back to any other kind of lifestyle. We're going to look at this as a 2 year plan, and we could readjust and change that as we go. We're all in. I wouldn't consider, I mean, we've had offers on the bus. We've had people that have offered us. We've had offers that have reached a 7-figure mark for the bus. But at this point, we wouldn't really even consider selling it. I mean, maybe if there were some astronomical number, maybe 7 figures is an astronomical number. Maybe I'm an idiot for not taking people up on that offer, because we've had a 7-figure offer more than once. But the bus to us and the life that it provides us is kind of everything, and so we're not willing to separate ourselves from that at this point. I'm not willing to go through another build. I know my brothers have asked me, like, well, why don't you just sell it and do this all again? Well, it took 2 years to get us to this point. I am definitely not willing to do that again. So perhaps when I figure out how to build a bus in a 3-month time frame with no issues, maybe then I'll look at doing that. But I guess that also begs the question, what would you pay for a double-decker motorhome? Maybe we should go into the business of building these on a professional level. Don't worry, that's probably not ever going to happen. But definitely, we'd love to know what kind of numbers you thought about this. Is this a feasible lifestyle for you? Is this a cost that you could put into your lifestyle? Could you exchange your current life, your home, for bus life? Yeah, it's a big bus. It's different than most people think of when they think of a bus conversion. We don't have struggles getting into RV parks. I know a lot of school buses, they can find struggles getting into RV parks because they're a conversion. Ours looks a lot more like a Class A, and it just looks really big. So we haven't had any issues, at least to this point. And like I said, we're only 2 months in. We are total newbies at any of this, but we're having fun with it. We're enjoying it. I hope you appreciated this video. I hope you find those numbers to be helpful and perhaps inspirational to you as you start looking at your life and kind of taking an inventory of your life, if this is something that you may be interested in doing, if this is a life you want to pursue. We would love to have you guys along for the adventure. We enjoy showing everybody, not just our bus, but our family. Moving forward, we're going to try to put out a lot more content on YouTube. I know that we've kind of been neglecting that, but we know that people are interested. So like I said at the beginning of the video, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what kind of content that you would like to see from us as total rookies in the RV world. I know there's a ton of RVLife, full-time family content out there for people that have been on the road for a long time. I see RV tips kind of stuff all the time, and those are really great, but they're not something that we can offer to you. We are not really great at RV tips. We're total newbies. We're also the outdoor stuff is fairly new to us. I am an Eagle Scout, so I spent a good amount of time in my childhood doing outdoor stuff, but it's been a long time. For the most part, in the last 15 to 20 years, I've been indoors sitting behind a computer. So we're getting back out at it. But like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Maybe you saw some of the kids and Dina running around out here, but we'll see you guys next time.